the whole series. Like in this case, welcome to another installment of AniMeg, where I talk about anime series and tell you what I think about them and all sorts of different stuff, and I probably ramble a lot. This month I'm talking about Puella Magi Madoka Magica, which is freaking fantastic. Just as a quick review before we get to the spoilers, amazing. Like, shot to the top of my favorites list, for sure. I mean, you know, nostalgia's sake, Sailor Moon will always be there, Cowboy Bebop, Dragon Ball Z, those will always be there. But Puella Magi Madoka Magica, top of my anime that I've seen recently list, for sure. I absolutely loved it. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go to crunchyroll.com/meganerds to get a free trial premium membership and check it out. It's freaking awesome. It's only 12 episodes, so you have plenty of time to watch it. You can work it into your busy schedule like I did, and it's great. Okay, so who's ready for spoilers? I just want to say before I get started that I'm going to use Sailor Moon as a reference point a lot because there are a lot of Sailor Moon references, but there are other Mahou Shoujo anime that you can plug in. If that's your favorite, Sailor Moon just happens to be my favorite, and so I had a lot of the references that were directly to Sailor Moon or the just the Mahou Shoujo genre in general. I'm going to liken a lot of those to Sailor Moon, just as a disclaimer. Also, I really liked this, and I bet I'm gonna ramble a lot. So I'm gonna try really hard to do this in one shot and just talk about all the points, and it's probably gonna do a bunch of this, but then we'll get to it eventually. So stick with me, bear with me, here we go. So, for those of you who aren't familiar, Mahou Shoujo is a subgenre of anime that is basically magical girl anime. That's what it translates to. Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, there are tons and tons of Mahou Shoujo anime out there, and they all kind of have similar themes. Girl who is sort of run-of-the-mill, your average everyday girl, becomes this amazing, magical, fantastic being, seemingly out of nowhere, and by no real effort of her own. I mean, think about the beginning of Sailor Moon, right? Luna finds Usagi and convinces her that she's Sailor Moon. Obviously, she's also a lot of other things, but let's just say for simplicity's sake, she's just Sailor Moon. But she doesn't do anything, right? Like, Usagi doesn't go out to become this great thing. Luna finds her and tells her her destiny. So it's like a really common thing in Mahou Shoujo anime. And in Madoka Magica, Madoka has a dream where Kyubey, which is like this weird cat with like ear things, alien, we're going for spoilers here, so he's an alien, but you don't know that at first. Creepy as hell, because he never really blinks. He does close his eyes when he's trying to be cutesy, but he never blinks, which is weird. Anyway, he finds Madoka in a dream and says to her, basically that the world will end if she doesn't become a Mahou Shoujo. And he shows her Homura in the dream, who is fighting a witch, and basically says she's not powerful enough to fight this witch, and she never will be, but you are. And if you become a Mahou Shoujo, you can save this girl from her fate. And I'll spare you just going through the entire storyline, but basically Homura comes into her school. They meet another girl named Mami, who is a Mahou Shoujo. Sayaka is her friend who becomes a Mahou Shoujo. And basically, Homura is kind of painted as this like rogue, angry, shitty figure at first, right? Like, she's very antisocial, she seems angry, she leaves a lot of mysterious messages to Madoka, she doesn't really tell her what's going on. She's after Kyubey, which, if you don't really look at it at first, he's supposed to be cute, but he's fucking creepy. I do have to say that when I went into this anime, I knew it was gonna turn dark. Like, someone had told me, like, hey, it looks like your regular Mahou Shoujo anime, and then it gets really freaking dark, so I knew there was going to be a turn. So I think maybe that's why I was a little more suspicious of Kyubey from the get-go, but he creepy. So anyway, Homura is like this like lone gunman kind of figure, right? Like, she comes in and saves the day over and over again for Madoka, but is mean about it and kind of like pushes Madoka away. She keeps telling her, do not be a Mahou Shoujo. Where on the other hand, Mami is kind of convincing Madoka that it's great, it's so much fun, you get to do all these things, like, you're helping save the world and fight these witches. Sayaka is completely bewitched by this. She loves the idea. She becomes a Mahou Shoujo, not only because she thinks it's like, I feel like she gets a little like starry-eyed about it. Now, obviously, she also does it to save her boyfriend and his hands so he can do the violin-y thing, and gets sad. I feel like I'm just recapping the story, but let me get to really what I thought was the thing that this anime did so well. First of all, it does an incredible job of making things once it turns, you can see how there was a lot of stuff going on before that was really not okay. They take a lot of tropes that we see in Mahou Shoujo anime and they make them a little bit ridiculous. Like, they make you realize how ridiculous it is sometimes. And I say that with a ton of love in my heart for Sailor Moon. So one of the first things that you'll notice in this anime is in the opening credit scene, Madoka is hugging herself. She becomes her Mahou Shoujo form, which, by the way, the dress looks just like the Cardcaptor Sakura dress. She looks like Ichigo from Tokyo Mew Mew a little bit. There's a lot of references there that you can get. Again, this anime is full of references if you're looking for them. But she's hugging, when she becomes like her Mahou Shoujo self, she's also hugging a naked version of herself, and it's weird because Madoka's 14. She's a junior high student, and we see her boobs pressing against her other counterpart's boobs, and she's naked, and you're thinking like, well, that's probably not okay. But if you think about Usagi in Sailor Moon, she's also naked when she transforms. Now, we only see outlines, we're not seeing full nips or anything, but still, Usagi is very young when Sailor Moon starts, and we just kind of accept that, like, yeah, well, you see her boob outline when she transforms, whatever. But when Madoka does it, it seems like, oh, I shouldn't be, like, that should be weird. Like, that's weird, right? Like, it points out this trope that we just kind of accept. And I use that as an introduction into one of the biggest things that we accept about Mahou Shoujo anime, that Madoka Magica takes in front of us and holds out, and then snaps in two in front of our faces, and then throws it down and stomps on it, and that is hope. Because every Mahou Shoujo anime relies on this idea of hope. No matter what is happening in Usagi's life, there is always a sliver of hope. She's always going to come out of it somehow. When everybody dies, she's still able to defeat the evil. Whenever Mamoru forgets about her and doesn't love her anymore and is fighting against her, just getting their love is gonna make him remember. I mean, when her daughter becomes evil, I mean, like, there are all these things that happen that you think, like, how is they ever gonna get out of it? And then they always do. And that's, I think any anime is like that, right? Like, any story is like that. Oh my gosh, how are they gonna get through this? And then somehow they do. But Mahou Shoujo anime in particular is a little fluffier about it, right? Like, it's always like this idea of love, and if you just really care about somebody, that there will be a way. And Madoka Magica shows us, right? Like, there are real world consequences for things. For death, we see in Sailor Moon, I promise I'm gonna get to this point. I feel like I'm making 5 points before I get there, but I promise I will. So in Sailor Moon, we see everybody dies at the end of the first season, and then they just forget who they are. Like, their memory is wiped, but they are still there as human beings. When Mommy dies in episode 4, she dead. She gone. She just died in front of everybody. She got the chomp, and then goodbye, Mommy. And that's what happens. Like, you get this sense of, like, oh shit, okay, the rules have changed in Madoka Magica. There's no fluff. There's no bullshit. It is real. Like, these girls are gonna die, they get eaten, and then you find out, oh, you got your little wish? Well, you also signed over your entire soul, your whole being, and not only are you gonna fight witches pretty much forever until you give up hope, you're then gonna become a witch when you give up hope. Like, you are cursed to become this thing that you're fighting against. So we get this idea from the get-go. From the first 5 episodes, you understand that there is no such thing as hope in this universe. But you keep hoping. Once you find out that Homoda, I keep calling her Homoda just off the top of my head, but once you find out that Homoda has the ability to go back in time, and she's gone back in time over and over and over again, she was this nervous, adorable, I love that I tripped on the word nervous, perfect word to trip on, nervous, adorable, like, stuttering little girl who was in the hospital for a long time, and she comes and Madoka befriends her and shows her, like, how great it is to be a Mahou Shoujo, and she's this really powerful figure, and Homoda, god damn it, Homoda is able to take back time. She can turn back time to try and save her only friend, Madoka. This is the one thing Madoka asks of her, please don't ever let me become a Mahou Shoujo. Please go back in time and save me from becoming a Mahou Shoujo. And she is just determined to keep going back and fighting again and again and again until she can figure out how to live this life without Madoka becoming a Mahou Shoujo. And it's this thing that you see just her suffer and suffer and suffer for her friend, which in any other Mahou Shoujo anime would be enough for there to be a way, right? But not in Madoka Magica. Nope, no happy ending. Homoda is still, no matter what she does, not powerful enough to save Madoka from being a Mahou Shoujo. And you're hoping, you're thinking like, oh, she's gonna figure it out. Fuck off, Kyubey, she's gonna do it. And she never does. Then they get you at the very end because you're thinking, okay, I've accepted that Homura is not powerful enough to save Madoka. Madoka is gonna be that Usagi. She's gonna sacrifice herself for her friends. She's gonna become this incredible Maho Shoujo for all the Maho Shoujos. She's gonna take away the pain from everybody who had to be a magical girl, and she's going to sacrifice herself. No one's gonna remember who she is. Only Homura will remember her, and everybody else is gonna think she's insane for remembering who Madoka is. She's just gonna go away. She's gonna make this huge sacrifice. Nobody's gonna remember her. Nobody will know she made the sacrifice, and that'll be it, right? Like, you're still in your like heart of hearts. I guess I was in my heart of hearts. Like, I'm still just like, okay, this is gonna be it, right? It's gonna work. Wrong. Where have you been? What have you learned from Madoka Magica? But that there is no hope. None. Madoka sacrifices herself. She becomes the Maho Shoujo to end all Maho Shoujos, and then what happens? There are no more witches left. Yes, but now there are curses, and the girls still have to fight, and they still have to freaking sacrifice themselves, and it basically did nothing. Madoka's sacrifice is basically nothing. It's crazy. So it got me. Like, it really plays out the fact that you're like, man, I always hoped, and it keeps telling you over and over and over again, there is no hope, and then it sticks to its guns all the way to the end. Masterful. I absolutely loved it. It got me all the way to the end because, I mean, I'm a Maho Shoujo fan, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, when you love your friends, when you love your soulmate or whatever, that's enough to make the world right. And Madoka Magica says, nope, not enough to make the world right, and it does it beautifully and in this amazing, dark, awesome way. I loved it. Yep, I did that thing where I talked enough and then my camera automatically stopped recording, so weird cut, sorry. My favorite character is Homura, even though I keep accidentally calling her Hamada. I don't know, slip of the tongue. She's my favorite because I always go for these rogue characters. Like, think about, I keep using Sailor Moon, everyone's gonna eat me alive in the comments, but it's a really good reference for this anime in particular. But if you think about, like, just like the lone wolves that happen, and in any anime, let me just back up and just say, like, the people who are like the lone wolf in any anime, I probably am a sucker for. Let me use a different anime as a reference point. You know what, screw it, whatever. Lone wolves, you guys know what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about? You know that figure that sits on the top of the building and is like too cool for school and is mean to everyone, but then it turns out they're like really cool in the end? Those are always my favorite, and that is how Homura is portrayed in this anime. She's kind of an asshole. She's going after Kyubey, who's supposed to be sort of cute, even though he's really creepy, and then she turns out to be like this selfless, amazing person. I love her. I can't wait to cosplay her. And actually, when I went to get my nails done, I picked a Madoka pink, and next time, I thought about doing nude on all my nails and then doing the purple diamond, which is what Homura has on her ring finger on her left hand, and I think I might do it next time because I really liked her. I just thought she was awesome. She had these glasses and she takes off her glasses and like she has to use guns because she's not cool enough for anything else. I don't know. I really loved her. Anyway, so that's what I thought of Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Again, if you guys haven't seen it and you just sat through all this, it's still really good even if you know it's going to be dark and weird. Go to crunchyroll.com/meganerds. It's a freaking awesome anime. Next month, I'll be talking about the other half of Season 1 of Sword Art Online, so stay tuned for that. You guys have been kind of asking me to close that one out, so we'll do that. If you have any suggestions for what to do the month after that, leave them in the comments down below. Tell me what you thought of Puella Magi Madoka Magica, and probably all the ways I annoyed you by talking about Sailor Moon so much, or, you know, how there are other anime out there. It's a really good Maho Shoujo anime. It's fantastic. Whatever, I'm not going to defend it anymore. Guys, Sailor Moon's awesome. Puella Magi Madoka Magica is awesome too. Homura's awesome. Hamada, jeez, I'm going to stab myself in the, I was going to say in the mouth. That's a weird place to stab yourself. Anyway, like there's a better like place to stab yourself. Don't stab yourself, kids. Also, think what you're going to say to the camera before you start recording, because this happened. That's it, you guys. I will see you next month, and you know what?